This is the video from a security camera and released by online news site Loopsider, which shows police officers kicking, punching and hitting music producer Michel Zecler with a truncheon. The 41-year-old was intercepted walking down a street in Paris without wearing a face mask as required by coronavirus health restrictions. The officers forced him back into his studio, assaulting him before throwing a tear gas canister inside the room.
The officers said they were unable to restrain Mr. Zecler, who was resisting, and explained the beating by the state of panic that gripped them in the room, from which they could not get out because of the individual's resistance, as well as the configuration of the very confined space.
The decision to open a formal investigation comes amid growing concern over police violence in France. This weekend saw more major demonstrations against a new comprehensive security law that would restrict sharing images of police and allow law enforcement to use camera-equipped drones.
It's a law, as we saw again with what happened to Michel Zecler, that by suppressing our right to film what happens with the police, we no longer have evidence. In legal terms, we cannot be heard if we don't have sufficient evidence to deny what the police is saying.
A
law like this is not normal. If it passes, it means that there are people like the poor guy in the video. If it hadn't been filmed, he'd be in jail. Is that normal? No, it's not normal.
Given the evolution of the law and of the modern world, such a bill would really harm the good reputation of this beautiful country, that is France, which I respect and love so much.
MPs and police unions have been speaking out about what they see as a deliberate misreading of the intended legislation. They say it does not contravene the freedom of the press and has very specific wording regarding taking photos of the police. Offenders could be sentenced to up to a year in jail and fined $53,000 for sharing images of police officers. The government says that new measure would stop unlawful targeting of police. But ministers are having to contend with increasing examples of police brutality, such as last week, when officers used heavy-handed methods to clear a migrants' camp in central Paris. The government is condemning the violence, but also defending the legislation, which could make it harder to film this type of footage in the future. Ross Cullen, CGTN, Paris.